Good evening, kind folks. Welcome to the Uski and Herbie show, the first show of the New Year's. Happy New Year to everybody. Happy 2021. No 2020 anymore there, Ewan. I guess we're going to move on to better things here in 2020. Ewan, Uski is he's down there in Charlotte, and I'm up here in Baltimore. So, how was your New Year's Eve there, sir?
It was pretty good. I it was kind of low key, but I went over to a friend's house for a couple of adult beverages, and before things got out of hand, I came home and bought the new year in with a Captain and Coke with a lime and my dog. So how was your New Year's Eve?
Well, mine was pretty good. I was watching some basketball. I was watching Maryland get pounded by Michigan, and then I was watching Person Daily. They had some funny stuff going on, and then basically that's all we got. And then Nicole and I were watching the ball and welcome in 2021. It was like you had a Captain and Coke. We think we had the Uski special. And and then we just
Hey,
stayed up and went to bed and got up at 9 o'clock in the morning.
hey, what does Nicole do while you watch sports? Does she watch them with you?
She actually does watch sports sometimes. She does
That's
watch. She likes
awesome.
more in the NFL, but she's learning.
Oh,
So
a
she's
woman
asking
after my
questions.
own heart, Herbie.
Yeah,
Hey,
but
Herbie,
her parents.
do you have the rundown for today's show that you
Yeah,
could just tell our
right there. We got the graphic. I'm going to put the graphic up this year so people can see what's going on instead of
perfect?
doing. Yeah, shortly it should be Coach Sean McDonnell, Coach Mack should be joining us. And at 8:15, we'll recap the Orange Bowl and the college football playoff because I know a lot of people were kind of upset about Clemson losing to Ohio State and all that stuff. And then at 8:30, we have Coach SIDDLE, who is the coach of UNC Wilmington, will join us at 8:30. And then we go bowling with Brad Hagan from the women's bowling team at Sam Houston State. But in the meantime, let's bring in the coach of New Hampshire. He just logged in, and Coach Sean McDonnell, Coach Mack, making our appearance here. Hi, Coach Mack. How you doing?
Chris, what's going on, man? Happy New Year.
You
All
too.
those
Happy
things,
New
my man.
Year.
Good to see you
Yes,
again.
can't wait for football. You guys are doing the spring session this year, so it's like I got football all year round. It's like the greatest thing in the world.
Nothing better than that, Chris. Nothing better than that. We're all itching to
Yeah,
get back at it after practicing in the fall. I'll tell you that, my man.
exactly.
Well, I'm
Hello?
My
sure,
buddy
Coach.
Ewan is up here from
Yeah, it's
from
great to
he's
see you,
from
Coach.
UConn. So.
Yeah, I went to UConn, Coach. But hey, I wanted to tell you first
Hello?
off, congratulations on your success. Herbie and I have been around a myriad of coaches in our college career. We've also covered the NFL Hall of Fame, and there's just one word that differentiates good from great, and that's consistency. How have you been able to maintain consistency throughout your time
Well, I've
coaching?
been really fortunate that I've had a mix of great administration from the presidents through my AD, Marty Scarano, to great coaches on my coaching staff. Man, I've been blessed. It started with Chip Kelly, went right through Timmy Cramsey, went right through Ryan Carty, Joe Conlon, Mike Dawson, Sean Devine. I've had a bunch of guys that have been really good coaches that have been able to recruit, do a great job of getting our type of kids to New Hampshire and putting them in a position to be successful, and then having them be successful because of the people at our school.
Exactly. Well, Coach Mack, we got you on tonight because you have a former player who's playing in the national championship game next week for the for Ohio State. He's the coach, Ryan Day. What was Ryan Day like when he first came to see you as a young kid looking to play college football?
Competitive, smart, and tough. Um, he was probably the best three-sport athlete in the state of New Hampshire, although he did not possess great physical speed and a cannon-like arm. But he was very, very smart, very, very tough, and very, very competitive. Um, when he got here, he had a back injury, a stress fracture in his back, and I'll never forget one of the spring practices in his freshman year. He was having a tough time throwing on the run and completing passes, and I started getting on him a little bit about some things as a quarterback, and he ripped off his brace and threw it on the ground and then threw 5 completions in a row and said, "Is that good enough now for you?" And I said, "Yeah, that's pretty good, Ryan." So he also, as a competitor, guys, we're playing Maine his junior year, I think it was, and they were beating us pretty good. I want to tell you, it was like 49-14, and they had blitzed us all pretty much the whole game on 2nd and 3rd down. And midway through the 4th quarter, we got a play called. He's supposed to be looking to his left, throwing to his left, and he rears back and fires a BB right over the main bench's head, and almost takes the defensive coordinator's head off. And so I yank him, bring him over. What are you doing? And he goes, "Coach," he goes, "I'm fed up, man." He goes, "Well, you're up 49-14. They ain't got to be doing that." So he's feisty, boys, but one of the smartest quarterbacks I've ever been around. Loved mixing it up with Chip on the offensive side of the ball, creating stuff. And then, just watching him from the day he left us as the tight end coach to where he is now as the head coach, he's done nothing but get better.
Coach, what does it feel like? I played high school football. I also played 1 year at Springfield Division II school before I transferred to UConn. And basically every coach that I had was, a mentor, a father figure, a motivator. What's it like to see him on the sideline having so much success, knowing that he's probably most likely implementing some of the things that you implemented in him?
Well, the one thing is you take great personal pride in being part of that. You also take great pride in knowing the fact that that's a New Hampshire guy. He has taken the right steps every way, and it's not just been me. He was with Steve Adazio at Temple. He was with Urban Meyer at Florida. Urban Meyer, for the first year at Ohio State. He was with Chip Kelly. Now, I don't know if you guys know that Chip went to the same high school as Ryan and was a quarterback at Central High School, just like Ryan. And he's been mentored not only by myself, but also by a lot of UNH guys. And he is just taken to the coaching, man. It's great pride that you watch him and how he handles himself for so young an age and only being a second-year head coach in the media with the kids and everything. He's a great representative of UNH football. I'll tell you that, guys.
Yeah. You see, that's why I was like, wait a minute. I was doing that. I was looking at this game coming up. I'm like, got to be a UNH situation here. And nobody's bringing up that he was your quarterback. It's like, why is anybody not bringing up New Hampshire? New Hampshire has a great program in football, and you do a great job keeping things going, playing, you had 13 seasons in postseason. Nobody has done that. And that's pretty good.
Again, it goes back to one thing, guys. It's people. And if you got good people in your organization, and again, like I said, from top to bottom, it goes finally with the players. You can be a good coach, but if you got players that are going to develop, get better, and are great players, everything's going to work if you put them in the right position. And we've been fortunate to do that.
Exactly. So, Coach, how you doing lately? Because I know I talked to you sometime in the summertime. You were recovering from the cancer. How's everything going?
Oh, we're doing great. Got a scan about 3 weeks ago, and 98% cancer free, and everything that they told me they were going to do, they did. They had a game plan, Chris. The guys, they put it together, and it worked. The Mass General and Wentworth Douglas were great people, man.
That's great.
We're so thankful to hear that, Coach. We are so thankful to hear that. Coach, honestly, it's amazing when I look at 2 decades of coaching, and we think about when I'm watching football, college football on Saturdays, it's the air raid offense. I grew up at a time where it's a fullback, I backfield, wings, that kind of thing. But how have you changed with the times and still stayed true to what you believe in your core? How have you been able to integrate those 2 things?
Well, I'll tell you, it's funny that you asked that question. And I was talking to an alum that I played with here, and we were talking about how we gradually changed from an I offense, with great running backs, Billy Burnham, Jerry Azuma, all these guys, to a spread offense with, great quarterbacks like Ricky Santos, Andy Vallis, Sean Goldrich, and spreading the ball out. The first thing that comes to mind was necessity. And we had to adapt because we just weren't getting the same kids that big fullback, and those kids that were guys that just made us a grind and pound type of offense. We started recruiting some slot receivers, some athletes, and got open in the spread, and that became a big part of it. No huddle, Chip put that in, and I let him run with it. Again, I had good people doing good things, and let him take off and do what he did. But the thing of it is, it starts, and this was the thing we always talk about. You got to have a toughness to you. You got to be able to block and tackle. You got to be able to run the ball, and you got to stop the run, and then you got to have a trigger puller. So if you have those things that are just part of your core covenant for what you do in a football program, and it goes all the way back to when we were good here in the 70s when we played. We ran the ball, we stopped the run, we had a great quarterback in Jeff Allen. So those things are beliefs I got from Bill Bowes, and we've carried them through the decades, and I think that's what makes you win, and that's what gives you an opportunity to win.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's true. You got to have good people. That's why all these programs being successful, like you, and you find recruits and you find good people and you make sure they're part of it's family, pretty much, right?
Yeah, it's right, and it's a development. You got to be able to take a kid, and that was the thing that Coach Bowes taught us in the recruiting. Look at certain aspects of the kid, and where do you see him 3 years from now, not where you see him next year, because at the FCS level, 1AA, whatever you want to call it, guys, you're not getting the finished product, and it's similar at Springfield and it's similar at UConn. You're not getting that guy that's at, what do you want to say, 4-star, 5-star, 3-star. You're getting a kid who's going to develop into that. And that's what always been the key to our success up here is developing kids.
Exactly. I was looking at your schedule coming up for the spring. I don't know. My birthday is March 6th, so I don't know if I'm going to make a trip up to New Hampshire. I feel like I might want to get out of Maryland for a day just to see how far this bus trip is. And it goes, your schedule. It's like, wow, you got talk about this 6 games, and then you go right into the postseason, and then you turn around like 2 months later and go, hey, let's play in the fall.
Well, obviously, I think the CAA has done a tremendous job in adapting what we had to do for the spring. Now, we could have played 8 games, and a couple teams in our league are playing 7, a couple are playing 8. Unfortunately for us up north here, with the Ivy League and the Patriot League not really playing this spring, and the NEC only having a 4-game schedule, we weren't able to schedule anybody else except for our 6 games. Travel restrictions, we're only busing to the games. We're busing to Villanova, we're busing to Maine, and we're busing to Rhode Island. But when I look at the schedule, we have some talented teams we're going to be playing. And, it starts with Albany coming off a hell of a year with their quarterback. That's going to be either March 5th or 6th up here. Then it's Villanova. Then it's Delaware, and then it's Villanova. And those 3 games are huge challenges to start off with. And then the last 3, Rhode Island, Stony Brook, and then the arch rival Maine. Those are 6 games in 7 weeks that are going to be wars for us, So if we're fortunate enough to get to the playoffs, that's a whole nother thing. But we got to get through the first one in Albany, who's, won 3 out of the last 4 from us. So we got to dial it in on them, zero it in on them, and get the first one there, Chris.
Exactly. Hey, one last question to ask you. Is your field heated?
I think you know the answer already.
Forget you, Albany. Forget you. Delaware.
The only thing I laugh so hard about, at least Maine, and Albany got very slow. And I don't know if Rhode Island has the bad winters like we do. I know if in Delaware don't. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see these teams coming up here in February, in March and April, playing those games. But I think it'll be warm enough for them to be okay up here, Chris.
Exactly. Well, Coach, I want to let you go, but real quick, you and him and I have a connection here. We're the only Met fans that we know. And I got to ask you a Met question because you and I talk Met baseball when we see each other. Yep. So what do you think with the new guy taking over for the Wilpons, and he's now opening up the checkbook?
I think that's something we've had to do. I think more importantly, it's money. We have money to do it.
Mhm.
I just hope that they invest in the right people. I'm still struggling with Bobby Bonilla, after all these years.
I know.
So
I gotta love it.
I mean,
So I heard-
he's still making more money than most of the guys in the
Right.
in the National League. But I think they got a chance as long as their pitching stays healthy again and Sodergaard comes back from the surgery, and get him going here.
That's great. Well, Coach Mack, thanks so much for coming on. Be safe and stay healthy. With all this COVID stuff going around, and I hope to talk to you when the season starts.
Guys, miss talking to you guys. Got to do this again when the season starts. All right, man.
You got
All
it.
right, man.
Thanks, Coach.
All right.
Have a good one, guys.
See ya. Yeah, Coach Mack. Him and I have one in common. He's the only Met fan I know is up in that area. Yeah, it's like
What a
Met
great-
baseball. Yeah, so.
What a great guy and a great coach. It's crazy, Herbie, to do anything for 21 years. But this is you can just tell his true passion for the game and for people. That's easy to tell.
And plus, he's up there in New Hampshire, and that's the state school. And that's also another pressure because when you have like Delaware and Towson and University of Maryland, like UConn, you're the state school. Your expectations are go to a bowl game or go to a playoff game, win championships, and go home.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and like with like some of these schools, like you see, like Marshall, who we just saw this week, that they lost their coach. Yeah, they got rid of the coach, but he's been there for 10 years and brought him bowl games. What's wrong with that?
It's a Herbie, we always say it's a what have you done for me lately kind of league. I mean, especially with so much money on the line. And, that is accentuated a little bit more because of the lost revenue that universities, particularly the smaller schools, Herbie, schools like Texas, even Florida State, Clemson, the big guys, they can afford a year like this, quite frankly, because they have so much money from football seasons and from years ago. But it's really those smaller schools that count on that revenue. And then, on top of it, it's the extra pressure. Hey, you're not going to a bowl game in a year that we have COVID. Well, we could have at least, they make appearance money there. So it's definitely trying. These are trying times we're in for every including coaching.
Yeah, what about the bowl games? They're used to having fans coming in from all over. Like our good friend Bernie Aries from the Sun Bowl, he had to cancel because of COVID-19. I know that took a hit with El Paso, the city of El Paso, and they got to make that stuff up somehow.
Yeah, we don't want to overlook the fight. And we talk about it all the time, how teams travel. And, the bottom line is every team has some fan base, others obviously bigger than others. But, the cities that they're held in, the positive economic impact and lack thereof this year can't be overstated.
Exactly. Well, let's turn the page and let's talk about the Orange Bowl. Did you get a chance to see Jimbo Fisher outrun the Gatorade?
Yeah, I did. I was like, come on, Jimbo. It's not even cold out. I mean, hey.
Yeah. I was trying to get on to talk to him after the game because but one reporter brought it up. He goes, so, Coach, do you have any how's that breakaway speed? He goes, I pulled a hammy.
That was a great game. I mean, wow, he had those guys ready to play, Herbie. It was a very entertaining ball game.
Yeah, he used the running game more than the passing game because Mod didn't even throw a touchdown. He ran one in, but normally he used Mod is such a great quarterback who might come back for a senior season for A&M, but they used the ground game and they had this freshman kid that came in for Spicer who hurt himself during like the second quarter and like literally just took off. Yeah, so if you're Jimbo Fisher, you got two good running backs for next year.
You know what, Herbie? All of that aside, it was just good to see a bowl game because so many have been canceled. So it was great to see two marquee teams playing in what was a really entertaining ball game.
Yeah, and I talked to couldn't play the audio for Mac Brown because it was all chopped up by North Carolina, but I asked him about Sam Howell, and he goes, Sam did a good job over the first quarter when he threw an interception. But after that, he settled down and he was in a groove. So, you're North Carolina, you're happy you have a quarterback that could throw 75 yards down the field and stride with the wide receiver. That was a great bomb.
I think we really talked about this all last year too during his freshman campaign. I mean, Mac Brown has done an unbelievable job recruiting. I mean, you look under center and you're set for the next 3 years, basically.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he redshirted, but the future's bright in Carolina, and they're going to have some really high draft picks this year. Or they're going to lose some talent, but that's where Mac Brown will come in and reload. I mean, what wide receiver wouldn't want to play with a guy who could sling it 75 yards? And in an offense that is just predicated on pushing the ball down the field.
Exactly. And Mac Brown, who basically, I think he's running the same. Is he running the same offense he had at Texas, or it looks a little bit more mature than he was at Texas?
It's a little different. I mean, you got a lot of more RPOs.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple more. Well, I would just say some more RPOs, and also too, it's just he let Sam be Sam, and I think that's you got to let. Sometimes when he tries to make plays, he'll make a turnover, throw an interception, but it's his playmaking ability that you just can't take away from. So a gunslinger is always going to be a gunslinger.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's talk about the Heisman Trophy. It came out a little bit later than usual. Normally, it's like December 11th, before the Army-Navy game, but it came out last night, and Devontae Smith won it for Alabama. What do you think of that kid tearing up the Irish?
Wow, I mean, he just looked like a thoroughbred running amongst ponies. I mean, his speed, his electrifying, the way that he, takes angles and attacks defenders is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, you get the ball in his hands, he could go anytime. And I just don't think we've had great receivers in the college game, but not one as dominant as this one.
Exactly. I think he's going to be a top pick. Pretty much. And look at that nice suit there. I got to say, he was styling last night. Yeah. I think I need to get one of those for a media event there, bud. Yeah. Me rolling in there. Speaking of media events, I got to ask you a question because I had the situation over the weekend. Have you ever had a situation with a coach while you were working with Tampa Bay and the Saints, asking questions and getting into like a little heated discussion?
Not me, but when I was working for the Bucks, Warren Sapp was in the locker room and they played the Jets, and they had like 5 sacks, but they gave up like 140 yards of rushing. And the reporter asked, "Well, I don't understand. How can you have 5 sacks and then give up 140 yards?" And he had this white towel in front of him, and he had a dip in, and he spit the dip, and it almost hit the guy's shoe. I was standing right next to him. He goes, "You don't know football. Next question." And I was like,
"Wow,
jeez." Just straight up called the guy out. It was like, "Next question." I was like, "Well, I'm good. I've got what I need."
Well, I had a situation with Brian Kelly because I was talking about Devontae Smith, and I asked him on the phone. And first of all, the South Bend media members, stop asking dumb questions because your team loses 31-14. Your coach does not want to hear, "Oh, you guys made it to the college football playoff and you stink again." He doesn't need to hear that. Like he knows that he has a lot of work to do. Well, he's already was irritated with like a lot of the reporters, and I asked him real quick about Devontae Smith, and I guess they must have said it ahead of time that I didn't hear it because I got distracted or something like that. And he was like, "Well," he's like, "Did you pay attention?" I was like, "Yes, coach, I was listening, but I didn't hear it." And he goes, "He got a little testy with me, but after a while, he realized that he was just upset with other people, and I was just in the the line of fire." So
do you have that? Can you play that, Herbie?
I have it. I got to edit it down. I'll send it to you. Yeah,
Okay. All right. It would have been nice to hear in the show, but I guess, hey, emotions always run high, Herbie. He knows what's coming eventually. I mean, the whole premise going into this game was Notre Dame better not get blown out, or else we wasted another college football playoff game. And what happened? They got blown out, and we wasted a college football game. So of course, there's going to be, because he's such a competitor, and because there was really a lot riding on this game. For the Irish brand, and they just came up very short. So it happens. It's a part of it's a part of their competitive nature. I mean, they have to do it because what coach really wants to talk to the media after you lose a game like that? Nobody.
Right.
So I wouldn't take it personal, Herbie. It's just
No. Yeah, I just took it as a learning situation, do my homework better instead of slacking off, because I know,
I'll tell you this. It reminds me of the story when we were covering the NFL Hall of Fame.
Right.
And I showed up a little late. I think I was with Chris Carter or Curtis Martin, but I showed up to Bill Parcells and I said, Coach, who's the best, player that you ever coached? And he's like, oh, I just finished telling these fellas that. And then he was just staring at me like, "What? Where were you? Like who?" And I was like, "All right, Coach. Well, thanks a lot.
But you got to realize in this business, you got to have a thick skin. You can't make it bother you.
Absolutely.
You got to shrug it off and go, yeah, forget it. Let's move on. Yeah, forget it and forget it.
Absolutely, Herbie.
Yeah, so it's 8:26 here on the program, and I'll tell you what's coming up next here on the program. Let me get my scheduler here. Yeah, that's the one I already played on. Hold on. Okay, here we go. We're coming up at 8:30 in 3 minutes. We got the coach for North Carolina, Wilmington. They're right now on. They're having some issues with COVID-19, but they will get back to playing CAA football. Coach SIDDLE with us. He's a brand new coach. Comes from NC State, where Coach Keats, he was the assistant coach for a while. Yeah, with the Wolfpack and also with the Seahawks. So he's on in a couple minutes here, and then followed by Brad Hagan, who is the head coach of the Sam Houston State women's bowling team. Yes, women's bowling. I know if you might want to turn it off and go to ESPN, I understand. It's okay. Yeah, but we're going to get people on here to tune in to watch bowling and all that stuff. So let's bring in the coach, because I know he's a busy man. The coach for North Carolina Wilmington, Coach SIDDLE with us.
Hey guys.
Hi, Coach. I hope I'm saying it right. Is it okay? Am I saying it perfectly?
It's TAKAYO SIDDLE.
SIDDLE.
Okay. Thank you so much. I was trying to work on it.
How you guys doing?
Good. How are you, Coach? Happy New Year.
I could be better, man. Happy New Year to you guys.
Yeah, I know you guys are on break right now because of the COVID-19. So what's the update with you guys?
Well, right now we start 1-on-0 workouts tomorrow. I have a group, probably 3 or 4 groups of guys coming in throughout the day, and I can only put them on a basket by themselves, and I can only instruct them from about 10, 15 feet away. So it's the best we can do right now. It's better than nothing. But, I told the guys after the Drexel incident, I told them we'll be better from this. And I think this will make us stronger as a team.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, Coach, talk about the protocols in the CAA, because we've been doing a lot of the ACC stuff. What do you guys got to do? How many negative tests do you have to have before you start playing games again?
Right now, we're tested 3 times a week. So we have to test. It just kind of depends on which week it is. We test 3 times a week before we can go out and play. Now, it was different because when we went to Philly, we had tested 3 times leading up to the game. And then on game day, we tested again. So that's the protocol in Philly. On game day, you have to test. And unfortunately, we had to come back home without playing Drexel.
Well, Coach, I wanted to tell you, congratulations. I mean, young, successful, bright future ahead of you. We can get these pandemics over and get on the court. We're excited to see some great things. But, my question for you, and we've talked to, we were talking earlier. We've talked to coaches, Bill Parcells, and great coaches in the ACC and all over the country. And I always thought that there's, when you have an incoming freshman class, the balance between experienced upperclassmen and young, vivacious, wanting to prove themselves freshmen. How do you kind of balance that out? Is that kind of a new challenge, and what have you taken from your other coaching experience to kind of make that gel?
It's hard. And I think I got a talented freshman on my roster right now. But it's one of those things where when you take over a job and you start bringing guys in, I think you have to be willing to, like I'm doing with Jamar Harvey, I'm throwing him out there and letting him learn from being out there in the games. And he's good enough to not make a ton of mistakes, but he's still making those mistakes. And I'm trying to let him grow through it. As you're building a program, you have to get some of those younger guys ready. So when they become sophomores, they're ready to contribute and produce at the level you need them to. So that's how I approach it. I never want to put a guy out there on the court if he's not ready or if I'm not, the trust isn't there yet. So with him, he was talented enough and he's good enough to where I can put him out there and he's not really hurting the team as much, and I trust him, and I trust him enough to put him out there and let him grow as a player. Having experience is definitely important, and we're fortunate enough right now to have some experience on our roster. We're not old, but we have a lot of games that have some in-game experience, and that's invaluable. Because right now it's conference play, and every possession matters. And so to have those guys that have been in those pressure situations, maybe it didn't, the outcome wasn't the way they wanted it to, but they've been in those pressure situations. And now the challenge for me and my coaching staff is how can we get them over the hump to where we're in those close games? Because I think we'll be in a lot of close games to, teaching them how to win those games. And I think that's when their experience will come into play. Now they just need us to get them over the hump.
That's true. That's true. Well, you spent some time with Coach Geeks when you were there with the Seahawks. Then you went to North Carolina State. You've been his assistant, tenant for a very long time. What did he teach you as a coach after you had a successful playing career?
Yeah, Coach is I've been knowing Kevin Keats ever since I was 18. I played for him at Hargrave Military Academy as well. So I've been knowing him half of my life. And the one thing that he always talked to us about as players is punching the clock and working hard every day. And that's the same mentality that I've taken with me in my coaching career. And to get me ready for this moment, he groomed me. He's my biggest mentor. He's a guy that I look up to. He groomed me to be who I am. And the things that he was really good at was motivating his players and having great relationships with his players and having a great relationship with everybody at the university and the athletic department, helping those guys grow up off the court as well and being a mentor and, a father figure for them. And those are some of the things that I want to continue to implement into my program and things that I think that can help you be successful. Now, our style of play is something that I believe in at a high level. But for us, a big thing is getting in shape. So we always harped on that, playing hard and competing every day and being the toughest team. Some of the little basketball things that I took from him. But, one of my biggest mentors, let me say that, and a guy that, I learned so much from.
Coach, we always, I write articles sometimes and I'm like, they backed up against the wall, but they showed some moxie, some fortitude, some mental toughness. How do you implement those things, or do they just develop through experiences?
Yeah, I think, it's been a challenge for me as well, but it's the one thing, and I worked for Chris Holtman at Ohio State, and the one thing that he told me is, guys that are not as tough, both mentally and physically, you have to make them do tough things every day. And so our practices, I believe, are I believe they're tough. I believe it's, I love the way we do things, and I believe in it at a high level. I think we practice as hard as anybody in the country. So that alone is going to make them tougher. But when situations come up, whether that be in practice or in a game, I think you have to show it to them on film, and you have to implement it and put it out there in your practices so you can learn from those situations as they come up. You have to talk about them, and you have to show them what it looks like. And then when it comes up again, you can remind them of it. And when they're faced with the same situation that they maybe didn't handle as well the first time, you bring it up and you tell them that they're ready for the moment, and you help them get over that hurdle a little bit more. And so they get comfortable with it. So when it comes up again, that they can just react on their own. So those are some of the things that we try to do in our program.
That's cool. That's awesome. Good. I was doing some research on you last night, and you had a great college career at Gardner Webb. Your freshman year is something that people always dream about. You beat Minnesota, East Carolina, and you took North Carolina to the buzzer. So that must have been an exciting freshman year. How did you get yourself ready for the next sophomore, junior, and senior after that?
Yeah. So when I came into college, we had 9 seniors on our roster, and it was one of those situations where I had a senior point guard in front of me, and I embraced that role. We competed every day, and I tried to kick his butt every day. But he had been there before. He had a lot of experience. All of those guys, all of those 9 seniors had great experience. And I wanted to go in and just kind of learn the ropes from them. And I embraced it every day. That's just who I am. I embraced it every day. And then, moving on, we had some great wins and some great memories my freshman year. But moving on throughout my career, I was just okay, Chris. I was just an okay player. I know you say you were pretty good. I was just okay. Let's just but no, it was great just learning from those guys, and some of the things I learned from them, I took with me throughout my career, and I still hold true to that this day.
Okay, Coach, I'm curious. Earlier in the show, we opened the show with having the University of New Hampshire head football coach Sean McDonnell on, and he's entering his 22nd season. And it's like we didn't get a chance to get to it, but you kind of being more of a younger kind of millennial, and like social. How do you manage, like, if COVID wasn't happening? How do you address your team in terms of what they put on social media about the program or themselves? How do you address that?
Yeah, so that's part of what we do when we bring them back for summer school, or in our case this year we brought them back in August because of the pandemic. We brought them back, and we talked about that in our first meeting, and I told them, hey, you guys are adults. I'm gonna treat you like that. When it comes to your social media, don't put anything out that would embarrass the program, yourself, your family. Nobody cares about what you're doing every second of the day. So you don't need to be tweeting that out and posting stories. Nobody cares about that. And I just told them to conduct themselves like pros. We talk about being a pro's pro, and, conduct yourself like that. You're doing a commercial on yourself every day is what we talk about. And every chance you get to do a commercial on yourself, you want it to be a positive one. So I expect you guys to act like mature adults. If it becomes a problem and a distraction, we'll take it away from you. But, I have some good guys on my roster, and I've been blessed throughout my career to have some good student athletes.
That's true. Yeah. Well, Coach, I want to let you go. Thank you so much. Good luck with it. I hope everybody's healthy and you guys can get back on the floor, and hopefully maybe I think you guys are coming up to Towson, right? If Towson gets their act together, we might see you up there, right?
Yeah, we're trying to sort that out right now. As of right now, we do plan to go up there, but we've been talking about a couple different things.
Right. Well, be healthy and stay strong, and thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you, Coach. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you. Happy New Year, guys.
Right.
You got it.
You too. Happy New Year. That's the head coach of North Carolina Wilmington, Coach SIDDLE, with us to join us. So that's pretty good. It's sad with COVID-19, everything's all messed up, but they've been doing the best they can trying to get these games rescheduled. But you're running out of counter space. It's like you got to come up with something.
You know what I found was really interesting, what Coach said when I asked him about mental toughness. He's like, push them every day, and when that time comes in the game, they'll be tougher, So it's not something you can teach, but if you have, the constant, mental and physical toughness in practice, that's obviously going to make you more prepared to handle things in the game. So I thought that was really, really interesting that he pointed out, Chris.
Yeah, I think it is point. I think it's great that he pointed that out too, because he's a young coach. He's been an assistant coach for so many years, and like I didn't know he went to Ohio State. He went all over the place, and you grab things from different people, and you try to be like if you become a head coach of a high school team, you're probably going to grab some of the stuff that you had in your college career.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's amazing that because of in his coaching career, he's been around different coaching styles and even running different offenses, different personalities, different kids. It all makes you more well-rounded as a coach, and it makes you more versatile as a communicator, I think, to your players.
Yeah. Exactly. In a couple minutes, in 4 minutes, we'll have the coach from the bowling team from the Sam Houston State will be joining us. Coach
oh my
Brad
goodness.
Kagan will be joining.
Brad is sensational. I watched a YouTube video of him, and he has so much fun with this. I am so excited to interview him. Oh, Herbie, I should have sent it to you. Oh yeah, it's great. Like he's walking around with the NCAA title. He's like, oh, I'm glad it doesn't go to my head. I mean, he really has a lot of fun with it. So I'm excited to talk to him and maybe get some bowling tips. I don't know when we're ever going to be in near Sam Houston State, but it seems like he has a lot of fun with this. So I'm looking forward to the interview, Herb.
Yeah, and they built their own bowling facility, so they have their own lanes, like I think 4 or 5 lanes, and they really upgraded that stuff. I saw some pictures. I'm like, wow, I wish I had that when I was a kid. I never had that stuff. But
Herb, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Before we get to Brad, we got to say, you probably think this is a no shocker here. Guess he's going to the NFL?
Who's going to the Travis Etienne?
No, his name, the other guy.
Trevor Lawrence. Okay, yeah, Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, we already knew that after after Jacksonville, we seized up the first #1 pick, so he's going to go to Jacksonville. So thanks,
Jaguars are in for a treat.
Yeah, thanks to our good friends from the Clemson Sports News, Gary McDaniel, doing a great job down there covering that program. So let's bring in some bowling tips here. Ewan's going to bring in his brand new bowling ball. I still have the crappy old ball from the '60s that my dad gave me, but it still works. So let's bring in Brad. Brad Hagan,
there he is.
The bowling coach. Yes, first time on video. I haven't had the phone like the last 2 years. Now I can see your face finally.
Yeah, finally off the phone.
I know we upgraded. That's what I tell people.
I'm sorry I don't have the trophy with me. Or I would have appeased you if I knew.
I love it, Coach. That's awesome.
Yeah, we got the mini one back here though. So,
Coach, where does your passion for bowling come from?
God, I've been doing this all my life, and I don't want to say I fell into the job 12 years ago now, but ever since I got involved, I got in head deep and love what I do. And it's not a job, it's a passion. And even through these chaotic times, I respect the challenge, and we just got to keep on keeping on.
It's true. So let's talk about this new age of bowling. It never seems 6 speed and, COVID-19. I know last year you guys were bowling and all of a sudden everything was shut down and you guys all went home.
Yeah, last year was crazy. #2 team in the nation. All of a sudden, we're heading the conference championships and said, "Hey, you're on hold. Have a good time, and we'll let you know when you can start again." So it's been fun, but we're doing everything we can with all our protocols. we've been blessed and lucky enough. We got 2 events in under our belt back in November. We actually are preparing right now for our first event in the spring. That'll be next week in Savannah, Tennessee. But we're having a lot of separation between the pairs. We're still competing head to head. We're still making do. Haven't really changed our competition at all. Just changing kind of how we rotate and just trying to be respectful of each other. And we're one of the few sports, if not the only sport, that's practicing and competing with mask on all the time. We still test twice a week before and after event. So we're doing everything we can with the protocols to be as safe as we can, to make sure our administration trusts us, not only on the road, but during competition. And we're just making do with what we got and making the best out of it. And we're all thankful that at least we can compete. So there's some normalcy there. It's just we're kind of rocking a face mask and still having a good time.
Hey, Coach, I watched a YouTube video from years ago, and it was awesome. And one of the things I took away from it was, the young ladies, they were just so engaged, and they just seem to have a passion like you do. But, how much do those relationships factor into your passion for bowling and people?
I think it's important, especially during the recruiting process, because you want it to be infectious. You want to be somewhere where it's a home, but also where it's not always a job 24/7. We all have responsibilities and we all have standards to uphold. But in the meantime, you're trying, like you said, to have that relationship where it's hopefully everlasting, and therefore after their experiences are done. And a big thing of this university is all about defining the student athlete experience, and part of that is the relationships. And that's so important. And, it's my job is to get them ready for what comes after life, or life after college athletics. And I feel like we do a great job here from administratively anyways, in coaching. And it's tough love and coach and athlete terms of endearment, but the relationships is very important. And I got a great group and have had for a long time, and very thankful for that.
Exactly. I have a question. Somebody actually sent me a message on Twitter today. I was really surprised.
I saw that earlier.
Yeah. Oh, okay. But yeah.
I kind of know where it's going.
Yeah. Just talk about the future of the Southland Bowling League conference. Are you guys splitting? Or are you guys grabbing new teams? Or just talk about it.
Well, I'm not at liberty to say anything now, just because of university policies, but.
Right.
At the end of the day, the teams involved and the teams in our conference and us including, we're going to do whatever's in the best interest of the group, not the individual. That's something I'm thankful, and we've always had a big part of with this group that we have in the Southland. We're gonna do what's best for the group. So I'm not at liberty to say what may or may not happen, and to be honest, I don't know. It's just kind of like everybody else. It's a lot of unknowns, but the biggest thing for us and all the schools involved is we want to make sure we still utilize our at-large opportunities and our automatic qualifying opportunities. Every program wants to give themselves the best chance to make postseason. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the future.
Hey, Coach, are you still in your office? Are you sleeping there, recruiting late at night? This guy never stops, Herbie. He never stops, Chris.
It's been a long day. I actually slipped out and had dinner. So did that and then came back here. I figured it'd be a better backdrop for you guys.
Nice. Meanwhile, I'm about to move. My house is chaotic, but Herbie's representing with the Joe Montana jersey on, and he's got some jerseys. Coach, I'm just curious. I mean, were you a great bowler growing up, or was there maybe a couple of experiences that was just kind of like maybe touched you or kind of got you going? How'd you get involved with bowling? So
I only wish the resources and the knowledge I know now I had back when I dabbled very little on the PBA side of things. But I had a pretty good high school career. I had a college career at Morehead State, unfortunately, tainted by injuries. When I went to Morehead State, they were the #1 club team in the country. The coaches at the time, Larry Wilson, who's still helping out around Moorhead. Bobby Brown, who's the head women's coach over at Pikeville College now, still a great friend and coach. Just kind of ran with it there. And to be honest, if you asked me even 13 years ago what I'd be doing 13 years later, this would not be it. The success we've had, the resources we have, I would have told you you're out of your mind.
Right.
But like anything I do, anything I'm passionate about, I'm not going to do it half-assed. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to do it the right way. And it's not a job. I love it. So I love being involved in our industry, the sport, internationally, locally, to a demeanor. But yeah, NCAA bowling's been. I've been very blessed to have the opportunities I've had.
Let's just talk about the professional bowler store. Do you get anybody from your area to help you out? I know there's Chris Barnes living around the corner. And I know he's in Austin, Texas. I know there's a lot of other people. Do you reach out to them, or some of the ladies tour to come out and help teach your kids a little bit more or show them some stuff?
Well, we're not really permitted to have any outside help because of NCAA and university control and things of those nature. Okay. But I do clinics. I do have a rapport with a lot of the professionals in the area. I have, again, blessed to have opportunities to work with them at different events around the country and around the world. So like you were saying earlier about the coach that was just on, you're picking and you're getting information from different sources and different people, and then you're redefining it, making it your own. And I really think any coach who starts from the ground up or who's really made a name for themselves, they absorb everything as much as they can, and then they start to kind of flourish it in their own way as they deem fit. But anytime anything happens organically with coaches, and then as it goes into relationships like you talked about and development and in the sport, I think that's a beautiful thing.
Hey, Coach, besides, bowling, maybe golf, tennis, this is kind of the ultimate individual sport. So my question to you is, is there a way to kind of simulate pressure to get, the girls ready for that kind of moment when maybe an incoming freshman that they've never kind of had? How do you not kind of simulate pressure, but how do you kind of develop their mental fortitude?
Yeah, there's a lot of inside secrets to that one. I can't disclose everything we do to the world right now, but at the end of the day, what do we perceive pressure as? It's moments, it's elevated heart rate, it's maybe sweats, it's jittery, it's legs feeling like jello. So if you can use your imagination, we try to create that as much as possible, and then put a premium on shot making. Unfortunately, in a private area or when you're practicing on yourself, it's really hard to replicate pressure. So we have to be creative how we do it. But again, if you can use your imagination and based on those kind of things that we associate pressure with, you might get an idea of some of the things we do to create it.
That's cool. That's awesome. I was looking at your roster real quick this afternoon. You got the lonely left-hander. How tough is that to have the lonely left-hander on your roster, Danielle McBride, who probably basically bowls very good, just like a right-hander, but she, the left side sometimes is a little different, and she has the whole lanes to herself on the left side.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a gift and a curse. If your left-handers are lined up and they have the whole left side of the lanes to themselves, then life's pretty good. If there's no other traffic on the left side and we're dealing with patterns that are not friendly, a lot more volume, longer length, sometimes it could be a little hard to combat. So usually I always carry one or two on the team. Unfortunately, we had one graduate last year and it was part of everything going on. And then Danielle was kind of a last-minute transfer, but it's always good to have one or two lefties on the roster because you just never know. And then late in the day, especially if they're not in, they're great assets to the team because the lanes on the right side are transitioning so much and there's usually not a whole lot of oil left. So the left side's usually still in play.
That's true.
Thank you. It's always a chess match.
Yeah, seriously. Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach, how do you when we cover college football, we've covered college basketball, we've covered NFL Hall of Fame. I mean, when we wake up in our sleep, Chris and I, we hear 4-star recruit, 5-star recruit, 3-star coming out of here. How do you find and get that information on bowlers that you want to recruit to your school?
It's just a lot of research. It's what everybody else is doing as well. We kind of have our own rating system per coach, but every program kind of has their MO and people know what they're looking for. And it's nice that we're getting kind of to the point, here we are on season 11. And, it's nice to hear sometimes from high school coaches or certain people like, oh, well, because of who you are and how you are, you would fit, oh, you look like someone that bowled for Sam Houston. Maybe. Wow. So it's just a lot of research. It's a lot of conversation. Again, it's really about the personality and the fit. Anybody can throw the ball down the lane, but I'm always all about development and developing them, as I would say, with competitive maturity. There's a lot of good bowlers in the world, and I mean in the world, and it's really about finding the right fit. So you have rosters like ours that. I'm not a quantity guy. I'm a quality guy, and I believe in developing players and not having players mask your roster. So if we don't do something, that's on me, and if they don't do their job, that's on them. But I just believe in developing players and getting the most out of them.
That's true. Well, Coach, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Good luck. Thanks for coming on, and we'll get you on the rest of the bowling season, see how you guys do, and we'll get you all the way up to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I hope so. Just praying for a good season, and hope we get to see postseason.
Right on. Good luck this year, Coach. Thanks for the time.
So, hey, thank you. Yeah, have a good night, guys. Thank you.
You're welcome. So that's some bowling tips there for there's a lot of ladies out there that bowl really well. Yeah, they could kick a guy's butt any day. I can see that on TV or what. So getting to the top of the hour here, we got a couple more guests coming on here. We're going to dive into the NFL playoffs. We got some Colts action here. I know I can't say the word Colts here in Baltimore. I might have to go hop on the Mayflower and get out of here.
Awesome, Herb.
And yes, hold on a second. Nicole, if you're watching, it is the Colts. It's the horseshoe. Okay, let it go.
That is awesome.
I might get a bad text message from that. But anyway, that's what's going up at 9 o'clock. And then we got Kid Cross, Sports Geeks. He does a lot of betting. That's right down your alley, big man. Yeah.
Yeah, sure is.
So, he'll talk about some of the good games coming up for college basketball and the NFL playoffs. And then Barber, who does the Baltimore Beatdown. That's the Ravens Sports Nation website for ESPN. And he'll talk Ravens football. So we got Colts and Ravens here tonight here on the program. So good first hour there. A lot of interesting people, and it's a good way to start 2021.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. Happy New Year to everybody. We're looking for a great year and some growth for Herb FM Sports Radio. So we're excited for the new year. It's going to be interesting to talk to Andrew and get his thoughts, not just about the game, but about Phillip Rivers. I mean, right down the street from me, and NC State guy. I want to know if this is going to be his last year, regardless of what happens this weekend, Herbie.
Exactly. Well, let's bring him in right now. I know he's here on the call. So, Andrew Walker. Andrew, thank you so much for coming on. Last week, I guess the Colts had all the B squad in against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, and they're in the playoffs, not the division title.
Yeah, they actually they had to go full tilt, and it was actually doubt about 5 minutes to go. There was three ways it could went. They could have beat the Jaguars and been in the wild card. They could have beat the Jaguars and had the Texans beat the Titans and then won the AFC South. Or they could have lost to the Jaguars and been sitting here on the couch with you and I watching playoff action this weekend. So Fortunately, the Colts have a rookie at running back named Nathan Taylor, who took care of business with a 45-yard touchdown run to kind of put the game out of reach there. But yeah, it was it's definitely not probably as close. Probably a little too close for comfort for everybody with the Colts. But in the end, they got the done. They made the playoffs, got to 11 win, and now anything can happen.
Exactly.
Andrew, I wanted to ask you. When I look at this Colts offense, when I look at Phillip Rivers, Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines, really just how important, and not just this weekend, but long term, if they're going to advance, how important is balance to this team as opposed to maybe some other teams that are run heavy or that have weapons down the field? And hey, don't get me wrong, I love T.Y., but particularly for a veteran quarterback to be able to use that kind of play action. Talk about the importance of balance for this Colts team.
Well, it's. I mean, if you talk to Frank, really good. He's a really good play caller, really good offensive mind. It starts with the run with him, and that's kind of backwards in today's NFL, pass happy league. It doesn't mean that he doesn't want a good passing attack. I mean, that's one of those they got Phillip Rivers was to help increase the chunk plays of the air that they were missing last year. But they want to start establishing the run, be dominant in the run game, especially this for the year, so that you can wear down teams. And they also want to be just as good up on defense, stopping the run. So they know at this time of year it's really important. It's also a very tight end front offense. That's why they have three tight ends, and Trey Burton, Mo Cox, and Jack Doyle that all kind of mirror each other in terms of what they've been. They all kind of have different flow. If you look at their stats, they all pretty much have 3 catches for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's pretty much all. They all pretty much the same stats. So it's very running back, tight end centric offense. But then you're also, to your point, you've got the T.Y. Hilton. You draft Michael Pittman in the second round of this year's draft. Paris Campbell, a guy that's just had the worst luck when it comes to injuries. He's in there at the slot. I'm telling you, he's a difference maker. He's just had very bad luck, but he could be a difference maker if he's back and can to full next year. But there's plenty of bounce and depth, and to your point, the play action is a big part of what they do. But it starts to run, and of course, Jonathan Taylor's come on here late, and Nyheim Hines, and even though he's on the COVID list right now, Jordan Wilkins is a darn good number 3 back that I think a lot of teams would like to have even starting games for them.
Yeah, your running back Taylor he used to be from Wisconsin, and he was very good with the Badgers, and I think he just carried that over him, and he was a good fantasy points too, as well. If you had him on your fantasy team, like somebody I didn't have.
Yeah. Well, and really, it started out kind of precariously for him because you brought in the second round too, and he was the 39th pick. You trade up a little bit to get him, and a lot of people are scratching their heads because you have a 1,000-yard back and Marlon Mack already start the season. So it was kind of billed as a 1 and a 1A, even though it was pretty clear from the start Mack was going to be the starter. And then Taylor would come in and start to kind of learn as he goes. And then towards the end of the season, maybe they could kind of split carry. Well, Matt goes down a quarter and a half into the first game with an Achilles, and he's done for the year. So all of a sudden, Taylor's thrust into the role. And it's like he struggled early on. But he had a few kind of choppy moments where, maybe I should have read this a little bit better. I should have let my blocks stick a little bit more here. And he also had his only lost fumble of the year just happened to be a return touchdown, and gave Ravens all the momentum they did for the rest of that game. So, that was kind of hard luck for him. But ever since the second week 11 against the Packers, other than Derrick Henry, who's run for 7,000 yards this season, Jonathan Taylor's been the second best running back in the NFL. And James Robinson, as an undrafted guy, give him all his credit. He's been a really good rookie, but Jonathan Taylor is able to as him as the top runner and the 3 guy in terms of yards in the NFL. So really, really strong finish for Taylor. Doesn't look like he's going to hit a wall. He like to your looks like Wisconsin, Jonathan Taylor at times, and that's pretty scary for opposing defenses.
Andrew, 2 questions. The first one is, regardless of what happens this weekend, is Phillip Rivers done this year?
I get the feeling from the start, from the time he signed, it was kind of a wink and a nod to deal. It really a one year deal, but everyone, and they say this publicly, they said it at the time, if the injury situation okay, if he's healthy, and if the production's there, and if he wants to come back, which is just kind of, that's the one thing we'll figure out, then yeah, he'll come for a second year in Indy, because what that also does for you next year is, let's say the Colts get back in the first round, or make a move to get someone, it gives you a bridge, that guy, for a year, and what better bridge than Rivers? Or you have Jason, the rookie, you got in the 4th this year, that will also get a shot. So gut feeling is, as long as he doesn't get itch, because he head coach and waiting at Fairhope High School in Alabama. His sons are in high school, so they're about 2 or 3 years away from high school, and he wants to coach them. There's a little bit of time there. So unless he gets the itch to start a little bit early there, or if he's just like, you know what, I'm done. I've had a great career, 17 years. Wow, made the playoffs. I think I proved point this year. I'm going to hang him up, in Hall of Fame next. I wouldn't blame him at all if that's what he want to do. But my feeling, and kind of what they've said all along, is, yeah, it's a 1 year deal. They'll bring you back in 2021 as long as the health is good and the production's there.
Keys to the game Saturday. Bills, obviously, ton of weapons. They could score at will. Josh Allen's having an absolute monster year. Give us some keys on both sides of the ball for the Colts.
Well, it starts right there. And what a lot of quarterbacks do against this Colts zone-based defense is that middle of the field is kind of open sometimes, and they're kind of willing to give that up so much speed, get to the ball, and they try not to let anything get by them over the top. Well, the last few weeks, they've had a few plays to the top, or they've been for penalties, and it's been kind of uncharacteristic. So you got to cut that out. You do that against this team, and you're going to be down 3 scores in the second quarter, or halftime or what have you. So you got to cut that out. This Colts defense, though, has played Sean Watson twice this year, beat Aaron Rodgers, who had a few plays, but still they did a good job mostly against him, keeping him on the sidelines. Did a really good job against Lamar Jackson that's in the 2 quarters, which it's a 4-quarter game. I understand that, but they just stopped him dead in his tracks the first 2 quarters. So when you have experience against those guys, and you've had success against those guys, it gives you confidence that all those guys are a little bit different, but they're all them in terms of they can make plays with their arm, and they can make plays with their legs. And this Colts defense, if they can get the rush up front, if DeForest Buckner, big bowl snub, I'm biased, but big bowl snub, 9.5 sacks. If he can get interior pressure, if Justin Houston can bring it off edge, if those guys are going, can help the back end, I think this could be a really competitive game. Offensively, now they're not the Jaguars. Taylor's not going to run for 250 yards again, probably, but they're not that great against the run. They're probably a 5 run defense in the NFL. So, again, as long as this doesn't turn into a shootout early, and you have to kind of play keep up, which I think the Colts can do. They've had an inconsistent. They have really good starts, and then it's kind of inconsistent from there. But as long as it turns into a shootout early against this Bills defense, I just keep on it. Keep handing it off to 28. Keep kind of giving those short passes. Nyheim Hines, let him speed in the open field. I think that's kind of the formula for success. Keep Josh Allen on the sideline, even though Bills are number 3 in time possession this year. And in the 3 games that they had the ball for less than, I think, 28 minutes. They're 2-1 in those games. 1 loss. was Chiefs, and that's kind of a thing where Chiefs just kind of dominated the time of possession. So so you got to keep that in mind. But for Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs, who really scares me, is on the sideline, the better for this Colts team.
That's true. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for coming on and enjoy the game. And if the Colts beats the Bills, who do they face next? Do they go to Baltimore?
Go to Kansas City. So a 1-7 matchup. So you might as well just get the top two guys out of the way. Yeah, get the top two guys out of the way. But real in that regard, 2 years ago, the Colts beat the Texans in the wild card round on the road, and then to Kansas City, they struggled out of the gate. Kansas City kind of blew them out. But last year, the Colts went on the road Sunday Night Football to the Chiefs. Now Patrick Mahomes didn't have title. He had the ankle, but they went on the road at the Chiefs and limited them 13 points. So there is some history there, some good recent history for the Colts. You got to beat Bills, and they're 1-6 straight. They're the hottest team in the NFL in my mind. If you can somehow find a way to get a win, I think this Colts would be confident going into Arrowhead next week in the divisional round.
That's true. All right, Andrew, thank you so much, and enjoy the playoffs.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Andrew.
That's Andrew Walker, who covers the Indianapolis Colts. Who I saw something this weekend. I was watching Peyton Manning. He does that ESPN Plus thing, and he was talking to David Letterman. Letterman goes, yeah, somehow we just got the Colts one morning, and they left in the middle of the night. I'm like, wow. I was like, that's going to be really ticking people off here in Baltimore real quick. Yeah, they wake up in the middle of the night. So that was great. Bills are 7-point favorite there for against the Colts, and they're actually bringing people back in the stadium up there in Buffalo, 25% capacity, whatever. And Coach, what's his name? The governor of New York, Cuomo, said everybody's going to get tested before and after the game.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that. I'm just happy that there's going to be some fans in there. It's been a long time, and I'm not a Bills fan, but I am a fan of their fan base because it is so loyal. It's one of the strongest fan bases in the entire NFL. Oh
my God, it is a great fan base. Yeah, you got to go back to the days of Jim Kelly and and all those people, and they've been dying to have good football in a very long time. But hey, Stefon Diggs is a beast. Yeah.
And now they have so much to, cheer about. So much. I mean, Saturday aside, the future has never been this bright in Buffalo, in upstate New York. I mean, Josh Allen is a home run. Stefon Diggs. I mean, they got weapons everywhere, and it should be an entertaining ball game. Herbie, I'm thinking I should have asked Andrew. Should I lay the touchdown? Your thoughts?
For the Bills or the Colts?
The Bills are favored by 7. Should you think they win by more than 7?
I think they should win more by 7 because they play really well at home. Yes, we didn't have everybody there this year, but you go up to Buffalo at this time of year in January. That's like playing in the
indoor team too.
Yeah,
a dome team.
Yeah, we should have kept Coach Mack's audio. Do you have a heated feel? No.
Oh yeah. That was classic, Herbie.
Hey, I don't know what goes up there in the good old north part of the country. I think everybody. I feel like everybody has domes these days. I don't know. It's gonna be fun to watch everybody skate back and forth on the field. So it's 9:13.
It should be an entertaining ball game. It's going to be a great weekend of football, Herb.
Exactly. Let's bring in Kyle Barber with us right now because I know he's on the line here. We'll wait for Ken Cross, the sports geek. If he gets on, we'll get him on. If not, we'll get him on another time because down the road. So let's get Kyle. He's been waiting so patiently. Hey, Kyle.
How you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Thank you.
How are you? Happy New Year, buddy.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, let's talk Ravens football. Around here, after that debacle in Pittsburgh with everybody, and we had to watch a JV team pretty much playing that Steelers game. That was like literally we don't know who these players were. They ran 5 in a row, and they're in the postseason. So are they the hottest team right now in the AFC that might make a run against Kansas City?
I'd argue maybe the Buffalo Bills are a little bit more of a hotter team, especially after they posted over 50 points against the Miami Dolphins in Week 17. But I'd argue Baltimore was likely the second hottest team in the AFC, maybe in the NFL even. Just coming in, their final matchup against the Bengals was a 38-3, bludgeoning, rushed over 400 yards in that last game. They're averaging 260 rushing yards over the last 4 games. I put them among the upper echelon of teams, and maybe they're the ones that could do the run. Yeah,
that's true. But just talk about Super Bowl. This is a great weekend of football. Super wild card weekend. You got Nickelodeon involved, and you got Freeform involved. It's like, why does Nickelodeon and Freeform going to get involved with the NFL? I was amazed on Sunday watching the NFL on CBS. They're like, tune into Nickelodeon. I'm like, what? Like,
yeah, it's a little silly, but it's going to be a little fun too. I'm all about it. Super wild card weekend is how they're marketing it. Super. I've had other people joking, say, you know what, just get a few more games in there. Call it the Supreme Wild Card Weekend. Let's bring in 20 teams for the playoffs at this point. That's what they want to market it as.
It'd be like the NCAA tournament, it'd be like the 64 teams, or it'd be like all the 32 except for Jacksonville. Yeah.
Yep, do it. Yep. The only people that aren't in are the last 4 picks, the first 4 picks of the draft.
Hey, Kyle, I wanted to ask you, Herbie and I, we cover ACC football, so we've seen a lot of Lamar Jackson play before he got into the National Football League. And I wanted to ask you, what do you think about his development, his decision-making, his development as a passer? We all know what he can do on the ground. He's absolutely electrifying. Herbie and I saw this coming. His talent translated seamlessly, rushing-wise anyway, I thought, to the National Football League. But how has he developed in your eyes as a passer and decision-maker?
Yeah, he's been, he was a bit raw in that area. Everybody knew that going into it. That's why he wasn't the first quarterback drafted in that draft class. He wasn't the second, third, or fourth either. There's a reason behind it. But he had the best raw talents, and the way he has developed has been a growing process. I think that first year, his rookie year when he stepped in, they didn't let him throw it a lot because maybe he didn't have the talent there, or maybe they just weren't ready for it, or they didn't understand just where he was. But he's developed really well. He's thrown a bunch of touchdowns. He's been really safe with keeping the football out of the hands of the opponents. He throws very few interceptions in his NFL debut, at least, his NFL career thus far. I'd argue that he's, on par with, just how much that Josh Allen has developed, and how Josh Allen's been heralded for his development as a passer now, because he just had the rocket arm, the cliche rocket arm, and he could throw, 70-mile-an-hour balls downfield to 70 yards. Jackson's done the same thing in developing in short, intermediate, and deep route throws.
Yeah. I feel like Lamar Jackson is basically says John Harbaugh's job, because before that he was going to be gone. Because he had Joe Flacco, and he was still a Flacco guy, and he was like, we don't want to put Lamar in. But that weekend, as Lamar took over 2 years ago, I think it was a smart thing to do.
I'll completely agree with that. On the aspect that Lamar, has revitalized the franchise. In a way, Joe Flacco was clearly no longer having it, and it was tough to decide whether or not to make that decision to make that switch. But that's what he did. I'd say likely saved Harbaugh's job, but I don't think John Harbaugh would have been out of the NFL for long. He would have been with another franchise within 30 seconds of being unemployed.
Hey, Kyle, I wanted to ask you about JK all day. I mean, this outstanding rookie running back from The Ohio State University, been waiting his turn, makes the most of his opportunities, and boy, you got a stud behind there. Talk about what you've seen from him this year, and gosh, I mean, feed him the rock.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been an outstanding player for the Baltimore Ravens. They herald him as the best running back in that draft class in last year's NFL draft, and it was frustrating for a long time because he looked fantastic in training camp, but he wasn't getting a whole lot of carries at the beginning of the season, and it was frustrating, I think, to the entire fan base because you draft this guy super high. Second round pick that's looked at with positional value as a really high pick for a running back, especially when the Ravens have such needs elsewhere like wide receiver. But what was really aggravating is you're watching Mark Ingram get these carries, and it appeared that Ingram had hit the 30-year wall. He no longer had the burst, the strength, speed, agility combination that we're used to seeing with Mark Ingram, which led ultimately to him no longer playing. The last four starts, the last four games, I believe he's only up to like 9 carries. So J.K. Dobbins deserved to play more, and he's finally getting that opportunity to do so, and he's literally running away with it. 72-yard touchdown against the Cincinnati Bengals, 160 rushing yards, I believe, total in that game. And overall, he's a dynamic weapon that blends in with the scheme of the Ravens offense and pairs excellently with the talent and skill that Lamar Jackson has on his own as a runner.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about this weekend's game, rematch against the Titans. Titans have the Ravens number the last 2 games. One was in overtime this year, and then last year, Derrick Henry was running everybody out of M&T Bank Stadium for, or what Marty Bass calls it, the Russell Street Coliseum.
So,
yeah.
Well, I think this game is going to be a testament to General Manager Eric DeCosta. The Ravens lost that matchup and Eric DeCosta proceeded to draft 2 defensive tackles, Justin Madubuike and Broderick Washington. He signed Derek Wolfe, and they also went out and picked up Calais Campbell through a trade and then re-signed him and restructured him. So, and then they also drafted 2 linebackers in the NFL, pretty high picks. Patrick Queen in the first round with their first pick in the draft, and in the third round they drafted Malik Harrison. They spent all of their money on this defense instead of purchasing players for offensive capabilities surrounding Lamar Jackson with weapons. Their decision-making was we need to stop Tennessee. This is a team we're going to likely run into again in the postseason. We're going to have to face them next year. We're going to have the defensive stability to stop Derrick Henry. They didn't have that in the regular season matchup. Both Calais Campbell and Brandon Williams were on the COVID list, so they weren't able to face off against the Titans then and Derrick Henry. But this is the game where they're all on the roster. They're all should be expected to be on the game day roster. And this is what they built the team against, is to stop a rushing offense and the Tennessee Titans.
Wow. How do you think, I hate to ask you for a prediction, but I'm going to ask you for a prediction. And, also too, Tennessee, when Tannehill, he's one of the streakiest quarterbacks I've ever seen. The way he can get it going, A.J. Brown, he's got some good weapons, Corey Davis, even Henry coming out of the backfield. But as you said, Baltimore first stopped Derrick Henry. You're expecting 8 in the box. Man-to-man coverage to start the game?
I'm curious to see where they go with it, because the Ravens are a blitz-heavy defense, and with that comes man coverage and some soft spots if you're running it in zone. Ryan Tannehill has been rather successful this season throwing against the blitz and throwing when he has pressure. So you have to be able to find your balance. Your strengths are blitzing, but if their strengths are throwing against the blitz, you got to find a different area of attack. You got to mix it up a little bit. I think the Ravens, being such a unique in concept blitz package and blitz team, can get after the quarterback. What I'm more confident in is not about the Ravens defense against the Titans offense, because that's a really talented offense, and deservedly so with A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill's been excellent. He's been comparable to Patrick Mahomes in some stats. So, give the respect where it's due. But the Ravens on offense are quite a stronghold themselves, and the Titans defense are not that great. They've been struggling lately to get off the field on third down. They've allowed a lot of chain moving first downs. And more importantly, they only have 19 sacks as a team over the entire season. 19 sacks is a really low number. And Harold Landry is their leader in sacks, only 5.5 on the year. And that's their top guy. Baltimore is going to be able to maybe have their way with them, and it's going to be an offensive slugfest instead of a defensive juggernaut team like we saw the Titans and Ravens of old.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great game, and it's Sunday at 1 on ESPN or ABC, wherever you are, and I think it's going to be a great game. And I think who does the Ravens face after the Titans? Do they go to Pittsburgh to play them again, or do they go to Buffalo?
I think it depends upon the seeding and the structure there.
Yeah.
I think likely they'll have to go and face Pittsburgh due to the Browns no longer having Kevin Stefanski due to the COVID issue that's going on in the Cleveland Browns facilities. They're missing a couple other folks as well. I believe Joel Bitonio, their Pro Bowl or All Pro guard. I can't remember which one he was rated for this year, but they're going to have some struggles. And I think the Steelers are going to be able to eke out that win, and that would put the Ravens, I believe, against the Pittsburgh Steelers moving on. I haven't thought too far ahead of it though, because last time I was a part of I think I got caught up in the Ravens 14-2 dominant season and started looking ahead a little bit too much. And I haven't done so much of that this year. I try to be pretty unbiased, but I think I caught a little bit of the Kool-Aid too last year. I'm trying to be more respectable and understanding that there's only one game guaranteed until the next one actually occurs, and that needs to be when the Ravens are up and the clock hits triple zeros.
Yeah, we all got to take it 1 week at a time, one game at a time, even us in the media. That's great.
It's a really aggravating phrase when you get it from the players, but when I'm getting asked that question, I'm going to have to respond it the same way. I've asked that to Jackson. I've asked that to Mark Andrews. Like, what, you getting ahead of yourself? No, we take it one game at a time, 1 week at a time. It's practice. You got to stack it. And now I'm doing the same thing to you guys. This is just a wonderful cycle right here.
Oh, Kyle, we got to have you back on, man. Good
Sounds great.
stuff.
Real quick, that game with Cleveland, best game of the year?
Absolutely, game of the year. The story behind it, the chaos, the zaniness of it, and Lamar Jackson, finally meeting the moment and bringing his team back from a comeback, and Justin Tucker proving he's the greatest kicker to ever grace the gridiron with a 55-yard game winner. That was sparks flying, and it was a really fun game. I loved it.
Yeah, great. And also, I gotta say that Lamar Jackson did a Paul Pierce. I'm sorry, that's all I'm saying.
I don't think he did. I really don't think he did. I call a spade, and I'd be suspective if I was, but I really don't think that was the issue. I've been curious about it. I haven't heard enough. I wish I had more inside sources and I could really catch it. But I think Lamar being so outward, like, I didn't pull a Paul Pierce. Like, I don't think that comes from a phrase of guilt of like, oh, I definitely did a Paul Pierce. I don't think so. I don't think he did. But you know what? Hopefully we find out in 20 years, just like Pierce finally admitted it. Maybe Jackson finally goes on national TV and says the same thing. Yeah, that's what that was. And I still threw a touchdown on the Browns anyways.
Sick, man. Totally sick.
All right,
Kyle, thank you so much, man. It's good to have you on, buddy.
Thank you very much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. You guys take care, okay?
Go Ravens, baby. Happy New Year. Let's get it, KB.
Amen.
Get it,
Take care, guys. Bye.
Oh, my goodness. What a great show, Herbie. Great job putting this together.
Yeah. Question: are you available Monday night, sir?
Yeah, I'm definitely not available Monday night, buddy. I am very, very. Oh, by the way, national championship game Monday night, Herb.
Yeah. Are you available to do something with me on the preview of the game?
Yeah, I honestly don't. It's crazy, man. I'm painting this entire. I wouldn't count on me being there, Herb. But depending on if I go to Georgia this weekend to see my niece, maybe I can get some stuff done. But it's going to snow. I just texted my brother. It's going to snow on Friday, and the BMW does not like snow. So if I stay home, I will most likely be able to do a show. But I don't want you to count on me like you count on me on Wednesdays.
Right. Okay. So we'll just play it by ear, and if you want to jump on, because I was going to do something special.
Oh, was that a sign? You're like, let's play it by ear. I'm like, wait, did I forget something? Is he giving me a sign?
Like baseball players, dude. It's like baseball, like.
Yeah, I'm big on.
Big on.
Yeah, that's what it was like. Well, we'll just play it by ear. I'm like, wow, what is that signal for? I had a great show, Herb. I loved every guest. It was just fantastic.
Yeah, we'll try next week. We'll get some more cool guests. We'll get into college basketball because that's what's going on, the ACC and with COVID and CAA and everybody else, and even Maryland. They're struggling against Big Ten schools, so it's been a nasty thing up here in Maryland. But hey, It's they turned the calendar. It's January, and it's college basketball time, baby.
Yeah,
Hey, real quick,
exactly.
what do you think about having all the NCAA tournament games in Indiana? I guess we got to move to Indiana in March. Do you want to go?
I'm good. I'm good with Indiana. I hear they have some nice country girls up there for us. Herbie, great show. Enjoy the weekend of football. I love you, and give Nicole my best. And I'm out.
All right, see ya. So that's Uski. Yeah, folks, thanks for joining us tonight, and wherever you are, I know with the DC, don't worry about it. You know, the world's going to get better. It's just people just need to realize we all have to love each other. Okay, so that's my piece. Have a good night. See y'all. We'll do something special. Just stay tuned to Herbie FM on Facebook. We'll do something special Monday night. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. Okay. So like right now, I'll tell you. Have a good night, everybody.